What's going on, Coach Denetso? How are you, my man?
Hey, Coach Andy, how are you? I'm good, man. I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. It's been a long, long time since I've seen
Yeah,
you. I drove
yeah.
out to Coach, and guys, just really quick, let me introduce him to you guys. This is Coach Rod Denetso. Coach Denetso is the head coach of the football program at Navajo Prep out in Farmington, New Mexico. And I actually drove out and met Coach Denetso. He invited me back in the summer of 2014 to one of his elite football camps on his campus. And let me tell you, that was 6 years ago, and I've never forgotten it. It was an awesome experience. I'd never been to New Mexico before, and the drive out there was amazing. Um, and the kids were amazing. His staff was amazing. The campus was one of the most nicest high school locations I'd ever
Love
seen.
it.
And I've even told Coach, I'm like, man, if I ever opened up an academy or something to that effect, my first phone call is going to be to them because their blueprint is the exact blueprint that I would want if I opened up an academy. So, and we're going to talk about those things because, I really think it's a good opportunity for kids in that area in New Mexico. They do have housing and things like that, that is something that you want to do. And they just don't have football. They do have other sports. But again, Coach will be able to talk about that. But Coach, welcome to Coach Andy Recruiting. I really appreciate you being here with me.
Hey, thank you, Coach. Very excited. I just always see people doing this, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity for my kids and for the community and New Mexico, just in general. Four Corners. My name is Coach Rod Denetso. I am. We kind of when we introduce ourselves, I'm Sitna Ginny and Kintlachini. That's just kind of our respectful introduction and stuff like that. And I'm half Native American, half African American, and I'm the um, admissions director at Navajo Preparatory and head football coach here at Navajo Preparatory High School. And I just want to say thank you, Andy, so much for reaching out to us, man. It's been a blessing in disguise. Sometimes you always wonder why people cross their lives, and I think we're finding out why we came into each other's lives, and it's been an amazing 2 or 3 weeks since we've got back in contact.
Yes, sir. I agree. And listen, we're going to talk about that because I'm
Yep.
so excited about what the future is going to be holding for you and for also the kids there at Navajo Prep. I'm really excited about some of the things that we're going to be talking about. But Coach, the first thing that everybody wants to know, hey, did you play college sports? And you did. You played in high school, and you played 4 years in high school. Played American football. I got to be very clear. It is American football. We're not talking about soccer. And
Mhm.
and you went to college. But Coach, tell me that experience while you were in high school. At what point did you realize, hey, listen, I might be able to play some college ball here? When did that happen for you?
And I think for me, we're on a Native American high school, a town called Ganado, Arizona. Probably won't even pop up on most maps and stuff like that. And we had about 1,000 kids, and a lot of our kids rode the bus an hour or two to our school, and it was about 99% Native Americans, and we had all sports, and I grew up around sports. I think I was fortunate to have Coach Seymour, Mr. Reichenberger, and Freeman, and Roy Platt, Jim Dowes, and all these coaches that came from Oklahoma and different areas. That when I became a sophomore, they really took me under. And for me, living on the reservation was more of a, if you were good enough and you work hard and commit yourself and make some sacrifices, you have a chance to go on and play college and get a scholarship. So I didn't really I go to school on a scholarship because I'm one of my parents work. They've never had a job. Just financially, we weren't there. The old cliche, we didn't have running water at home and things like that. Was very hard upbringing. Was work. My family was, if you got a C in school, you couldn't play sports because that was interfering with your chores at home. So it was A's and B's. Unfortunate, I had an aunt, Betty Mays, that was had a huge impact in my life, and it was just the sports is what got me out of the reservation. I remember my coaches telling me, "Hey, this is your ticket out of here. This is your ticket to go play college football." And once I remember I was there. Our summer times were spent working out, weight room, getting up early in the morning. And at that time, the coaches were more aggressive. You're going to do this. You don't have a say-so. You have a choice, work out and lift or not. Those were the two choices. You know what I mean? If you're not going to do those, we don't need you on our team. And our locker rooms was very ran by the players. You know what I mean? Back then, I could be told, get to practice or else you're not going to play or you're not going to see the field. It was more of that feel, you know what I mean? Work hard, you're going to play, you're going to work hard. And that was, I think, installed at a very, very young in our football. We didn't have, well, I got this going on, I have to go to this. It was academic and football, and those two were hand in hand. If you didn't do well in the classroom, you weren't going to do sports. If you did sports and didn't focus on your classroom, you weren't going to be able to do both. So that at a very young age, that was just how the athletic program was set up there, from supports from the coaches and I think my junior year I started to get letters. But my football coach never told me I was getting recruited, because he always felt like once you start getting letters, back then everything, we didn't have email and stuff like when you got letters, it felt like Ed would get, oh, I'm getting recruited by this player, I'm getting recruited by this school, and you didn't. It just seemed like the work ethic would stop. You know what I mean? It wasn't a big deal. And in our culture, you're very, very humble. You don't go around and I got this, I'm getting recruited by this. That was very rare. And it's a little bit different now. And my senior year, after our last game was a week later, Mr. Seymour brought out a box and he dumped it out. And he said, where do you want to go? I was like, what?
What?
He put all the recruiting letters to his address so he would keep them. And at the end, he goes, where do you want to travel and where do you want to go? And he had a box. I got every Pac-10 school recruited me, and I was just so happy he did that to me. You know what I mean? It kept me hungry in high school. He had a bigger picture for me, and I think at that time, and I liked how it was done, and that just opened the doors for me, and I was very grateful.
Wow, that's amazing. And Coach, like you said, man, I think I don't know, what your age is, but I think we're roughly around the same. Maybe you might be a little younger than me, but you're right, man. Back in the day, it was a lot different than it is today. I'm not saying that the coaches now aren't tough or anything like that. That's not what I mean. It was just a different animal back then.
Yeah.
It was, I played American football and baseball in Florida, and man, it was hot, and we would be out there in 100-degree with helmets, shoulder pads. Coaches didn't care, man. We ran 100-yard gassers until they were satisfied that we were done.
And back then we ran, our coach would blade a field, a wash, and we would run 40s and 100s in there. We had a big hill that we ran up there, and and the water breaks were less frequent. Now you blow the whistle, you got to take a water break. And we ran all the time. And I think, it was a lot harder. It meant, for me, what made me mentally tough now, you know what I mean? Mentally tough. And then it came in handy when I got to college, because I've been through that grind of a coach that really had that, hey, you're going to hurt. It's going to be painful a little bit. You still got to go to practice and do all these things while you're tired. You know what I mean? So I think as far as them physically and mentally, that my coaches prepared me for that. And right now, I mean, when I was in high school, when I got home, it was chores. It was not taking out the trash and not doing the laundry. It was like livestock work, hauling wood, and in the winter time. And so it was really made me mentally strong, and it's just a lot different now, you know what I mean? So it gave you a very strong work ethic, for sure. Yeah, exactly. That's the perfect word. Yeah. Very strong work ethic. So Coach, and let me ask you, I don't know a lot about your personal life, so please, bear with me. But were you the first in your family to go to college? Yeah. And I think just looking at me, if you pulled up my high school transcripts, I wouldn't be picked in the class to say, hey, he's going to go far, he's going to do much. I was an average I was an average kid, like a lot of teenagers. You know what I mean? My family didn't value education. It wasn't important in our home. You know what I mean? And they did to a certain extent when I got older. But as far as the education component, that came later when my aunt started taking care of us, and it was very, very different. I hope I answered that.
Yeah, no, I totally understand. And so you finished high school. I'm sure you were probably the talk of your town when you were going to college. Where did you end up? What college did you go to?
So I visited Arizona State, I visited Oregon, and then I visited a school, Northwestern Oklahoma State at the time in Alva, Oklahoma. And I got offers from all three, but for me, I just lacked confidence in the classroom. And I got, just like a normal teenager, I got a 17 on my ACT. And I think one thing that I want to say and stress from us talking is when I'm talking, I really don't want to sound like I'm bragging. Look at me, look what I did, I really want to come off. I tell a lot of youth, I really want to come off as, hey man, this kid grew up on the res, family didn't have much, wasn't the smartest guy in the classroom, wasn't the fastest, wasn't the biggest, you know what I mean? But I really want to come across as, man, if he can do it, why can't I do it? Why am I human? That's really how I want to be seen as, viewed as, you know. I'm not see a lot of interviews and when people say it's not, I'm bragging about myself. I just want to say, hey, you had the same opportunities as I do presented to you if you just do some of these things here, you know what I mean? That's what I would really want people to take away from. And I think, and for me, yes, I did get recruited by Pac-12 schools, somewhere full scholarship, some were tuitions, just like some of the kids now that are getting recruited. I would have to pay some. And for me, one thing that my coach did was, Mr. Reichenberger and Seymour told me, just be grateful someone is giving you opportunity. And I was grateful. I was grateful for someone paying for my tuition. I was grateful for somebody paying room and board. Okay, I got to pay for my meals. That's fine. What am I going to do on my end? My coaches made sure I did Pell Grant, Navajo Nation scholarships. My counselor said, you're going to apply for these scholarships. You're going to have to pay for the rest of the school. And for me, it was two things. Grades. I was not academically, I was intimidated by Pac-10 school because I didn't want to show up my freshman year and sit in an auditorium with 500 other students. I wouldn't be successful at that. And another thing was financial. My parents didn't work. You know, I was one of those kids that didn't have much. And Northwestern at that time, Oklahoma State, gave me the best opportunity. Say, hey, we're going to give you a full scholarship. If you want to apply for other scholarships, that's fine. They gave me the most money. And when I went up there, it was small classroom. The coaches back then were professors. They monitored your grades. And I needed that structure at the time because, I've never been off the res, and I show up in Alva, Oklahoma. And that right at the time, that was the best place for me financially and grade wise. And I went to Alva and I did fairly well there. And even though it was an NAIA school, the competition was amazing.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And that's the thing, man, that I have been driving home, Coach. It's that, hey, listen, you mentioned it earlier about you were so appreciative that you were getting an offer.
Yeah.
And I see it so often, man, where these kids will get an offer and they're like, well, what division are you? Oh, we're NAIA. I don't know. I could play D1. Oh, come on, man. Listen, it's not about you, okay?
Mm-hmm.
It's about, the school. It's about the school. It's not about you. It's what, the school is looking for you. You're not really looking for that school, right? Mm-hmm. So if the school is interested in you, man, you take that opportunity and you run with it.
Yeah.
If it's the only offer, and I see it every day. I made a post the other day about, yeah, Coach, I got my only offer, but I'm going to wait till August. Well, you're not going to have anything at that point, man. Mm-hmm. Take the one that you've got right now, run with it, be appreciative of what you have, because it may be the only one, that you get. And hey, take that opportunity, run with it, and find out what happens, okay? There's going to be a couple of things that are going to happen. You may enjoy being there. You know, you may love your teammates, you love your coaches, you love the school, you love the city that it's in or the town, and you say, you know what, man, I shouldn't have blown this up as much as I did. I love it here. And then you stay for years. Or you finish a semester, you ball out as best as you can, and then you have what? College game film. And then you can take that game film and be able to transfer out if you need to, right? So that's the things that people need to look into when they're going through that process of being recruited.
And I think for me, I was, as a coach and just playing at that level, I was blessed to see talent, Division I, and when I have kids that come to my office and they say I'm a Division I player, and I have to let them know. I said, man, you know what, you aren't Division I player, but at the JUCO and the NIA level and D3, that's where I truly believe my kids are at. You know what I mean? And I said, you're going to be successful here, and you play special teams a few years. You're going to get some snaps on offense, defense. You know what I mean? And I try to really be realistic with my kids. You know what I mean? I don't paint this big picture. And I get several kids that come in and say, Coach, I want to come play football and I want to go to Texas. That's unrealistic. You might be able to go to a JUCO or NAIA school in Texas, but not the University of Texas. You know what I mean? So sometimes I feel like coaches have that disconnect with players of telling them, no, this is where kind of you're at. And I always stress the education part of it, that where's the best place you're gonna get a degree out of there? You know what I mean? Because man, the college football, American football is a whole nother animal when you get up into the Division I, even Division II level. You know what I mean? It's totally. And I went to Arizona State and I went to Northwestern, and now that I look back, I keep in touch more with guys from Oklahoma than when I was at ASU. And that's just how close we were in Oklahoma. You know what I mean? I met a lot of guys there. And there's nothing wrong. And I always we talked about it. And even though I played at Northwestern, we played against Southern Illinois, we played against Grambling, we played against Langston, we played against these Division II schools. We were NAIA school then, and we played against Division I AA schools, and it was totally a mismatch between our players and their players. Yes, we did have some Division I rejects that came to our school, Prop 48 kids, but they were on a whole nother level playing field. And it's phenomenal. Some phenomenal athletes at the lower level schools. Yeah, the school you go to may not have those kids, but how are you when you play against these kids at the higher level?
Yeah, you're exactly right, man. That you couldn't have said it any better. And I tell you, Coach, so I've got a lot of kids now I'm starting to see that in other countries, American football is starting to become very popular. And I actually even saw a league in Brazil. I got a lot of kids from Brazil that contact me, from my previous experience as coaching soccer. But now I'm starting to see kids that are playing American football down there, and they're wanting the same opportunities, to get here. But the thing is, they're not understanding that, you can't be 5'6", 5'7", and play Division I football. You got to be a monster to be able to do that. Tell me a little bit about what a college coach is looking for when you're looking at American football.
And I think, first of all, I think right now a lot of coaches are looking at grades. They're really looking at grades, because right now a lot of the coaches now, they want true student athletes. You got to perform in the classroom. You got to be able to do what you need to do, because realistically, coaches, think about it. If you don't perform in the classroom and you flunk out and you don't do what you do, they lose that money. They are opposed to a kid that would come in and they handle their business in the classroom. And now I think NCAA schools and the schools are cracking down on graduation rates. That's a big thing now. And I think it's more of the direction of, what are you going to do when you graduate from college? Football is not forever. And I think a lot of time the coaches are also looking at students that don't have arrest records, don't have discipline. You know what I mean? They want, we call it high character guys.
Yeah.
they're looking at guys that want to go to college. And, you know, you get a lot of guys that will say, I want to go to the NFL. You know what I mean? That's not the answer that they're looking for. If you're good enough for the NFL, they're going to find you. The NFL is that good, or at the professional level. If you're successful in this area, in that area of that sport, that position, they're going to find you. That's not, you just perform and that'll take care of itself. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of the coaches are looking for hard workers in the classroom, out of the classroom. And I think they're just looking for guys that will just commit themselves to the program. What is the what poster child that we want to show out to our program? You know what I mean? And they're looking for kids that are committed, who do we know in the summertime when the season's over, when they go back home, they're going to put in work just as hard and they can come back and they're in shape. You know what I mean? What kids are during football season are not going to be going home every weekend because they're homesick. You know what I mean? They're looking for dedicated kids. Kids are willing to make sacrifices. You know what I mean? So I think those are there's a lot of those things when you get to college. You know what I mean? That they're gonna experience that. It's gonna get tough. They're gonna get homesick. One thing that we deal with here with our kids is kids getting homesick. Our kids, it's the first time leaving the four corners, and they leave and they get a little rough patch and they want to come home. You know what I mean? So that's one thing that I preach to our kids, that, you know, I don't want to sound bad, that your parents aren't going to be there forever. You know what I mean? Some of these things you're going to have to go through on your own. Just being realistic with the kids. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I think that's what coaches are looking for, man. Kids, true student athletes is what they're looking for. They want true student athletes.
Yeah, and as a former college coach, man, that is tough. I can remember a season where, this was about 3 years ago, where I had a young man that, I mean, it was in 2 hours and he was already wanting to go home, you know, and he only lived 45 minutes away from the campus. And it took me almost 2 hours to really talk him out of it. Got his mom on the phone, and it's like, hey, it's okay. Work through it. We'll you know, you haven't even practiced one practice yet.
Yeah.
And get that out of you. Get that energy out of you. You'll see that tomorrow, and you're going to feel differently. And luckily, he did. You know, he felt differently the next day. You know, after I worked him out after 5 different practices in one day, and he figured it out real quickly. He didn't have enough energy to think about going home. You know. And so there's a lot of intangibles. I mean, you think about it even from an international student, how far away they've got to come to the United States. You know, it's things that you really got to sit down with your family and talk about. Again, not just with financial aspects of it, but your grades, you know, your physicality, and then also, you know, are you going to be okay being that far away from your family? That's very.
And I think a lot of the adjustment when you get to college it's kind of that. You go there to college and it becomes more of they own you now. You're on their schedule, on their time. And sometimes it feels like it's hard for kids to adjust to that because they're the big man on campus and they showed up to practice when they wanted to. They would talk to the teachers and get that grade booster. But when they get to college, like it's an even playing field. If you don't go to class, you don't pass. If you miss a team meeting or if you miss a practice or this and that there goes your scholarship. You know what I mean? That's just kind of that's reality, and that's the real world in college. And I think kids have a hard time with that. And it's just, I think it depends on how the coach structures the program of being realistic with their kids to succeed.
That's great, Coach. And so, Coach, now you're coaching high school football there at Navajo Prep, and which is, again, guys, it's in Farmington, New Mexico. It's at the very top left corner if you're looking at the United States and you're looking at the state of New Mexico. And it's like 45 minutes from Four Corners, if I'm not mistaken, correct, Coach?
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know what Four Corners is, it's exactly where Arizona, Colorado, New Mexico, and Nevada, correct, is where they all meet together?
Utah, Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico.
Utah. So that's where it's the only place in the United States where 4 states actually touch one another, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
so it's really neat. I wish I would have gone out there when I visited, but I'll be out there soon, so I want to see that.
For sure, for sure.
But very small town, coach. You're out there, and you don't get the college coaches up there that you should be getting. But it's a good distance for coaches, and with budgets and things like that, they usually tend to stay somewhat close by unless there's a really, really, really good player out there.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some of the struggles that you see from the recruitment standpoint as a high school football coach?
Out here in Four Corners?
Yes.
I think for me, it's of course location, and we're just not a big football state. You know what I mean? We're just not known for football. I mean, am I gonna go to Texas and go to Texas to recruit kids to where you can go to Texas and in a 10-mile radius you can visit 10 schools? You know what I mean? Or am I gonna go to Texas where I can find 10 players? Or am I going to go to New Mexico and find maybe 1 or 2 good players? You know what I mean? So, of course, it's location. And I think I'm going to try to say this the right way. For us here in the Four Corners, we've had a lot of kids in our area that go on to college. They go to colleges and this, that, and they return home. That's just the reality of it. You know what I mean? And we've kind of lost some colleges that will recruit in our area because we've had sent kids there and they quit. They don't finish. You know what I mean? Yeah. So we got to find a way to mend those relationships with those coaches. Say, you know what, this kid is not gonna quit. He's gonna finish. He's gonna play for you as much as he can, and he's gonna get a degree. You know what I mean? We have to make sure that those kids finish when it gets hard. And some of those relationships with those colleges were broken, and sometimes it's just financial. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of that has to do. And we don't have that many calls. We have Fort Lewis. We have New Mexico, UNM. They're not big football schools yet. They're working on that. You know what I mean? And it's just they're limited with those scholarships, so they have to be very very conscious of the schools that they recruit from. So they want to try to get our top players here from New Mexico, but Texas is right there, and they'll recruit out of there, make sure that they get those players there. You know what I mean? After the top 300 players have left, then there's that bottom in-between players. If those in-between players, you know what I mean, that those schools will get. I hope that answers your question as far, you know what I mean?
No, you did. That was perfect. And so, but it happens, so kids do leave there, even though it's a small university, or small high school, and it's a small town, it has been proven time and time again that kids are leaving. And as most recently, I posted it on Instagram and my social media that, he played 2-sport. He was a 2-sport athlete. Lance Morris was playing basketball there at Navajo Prep, and also was playing football for you. And Lance had an option. Lance could have gone both ways. He's 6'3". He had a good body frame to be able to play in college as well. Could have been a great, possibly a wide receiver or even a defensive back, because he had that body for it. But, when I talked to you about starting to help Lance with his recruitment, he was like, you know what, coach, he's really more focused on basketball. And that's the direction we went. And immediately, getting Lance through the recruitment process, Lance got a really fast offer from Arizona Christian, an NAIA school. And Lance took it, man. He was a humble kid. He was like, man, this is going to be – his response back to me was amazing, which I wish every kid responded to me this way.
And the thing with Lance was he understood his situation. And we've had a lot of conversations of that conversation of just be grateful. You know what I mean? Be grateful someone is interested in you to continue playing college football. He had his I want to go D1 this year as a freshman, but as more he was in the program, he narrowed it down to, I'm just going to be grateful. I'm going to go what's going to help me and what's going to help my family and what's going to be what's best for me. You know what I mean? And he said, and the big picture for him was, I just want to play basketball, but I want to get a degree. And I think that's one thing that Navajo Prep does well is we want you to get a degree. That's the big picture. And I think for me, I've had conversation with Lance was, the colleges are going to use your body, and you use them for a degree. So there's a trade-off. They're gonna run you. You're gonna lift. You're gonna do things you don't want to do. You're owned by them. You know what I mean? But in return, you get that degree out of them. So it's a good. I think it's a good trade-off. And he got offered a lot of money. You know what I mean? So he's grateful.
Yeah, I was really excited to see his offer, and he was really excited. His mom, his family was so super excited for this opportunity for him. And like I mentioned to Coach before we started, this is going to change things for Navajo Prep. You know, Lance could be that pioneer for this generation right now to be able to say, hey, listen, I did it. You know, you guys are my teammates, you're my friends, or even kids that are a little younger than him that maybe were looking up to him. You know, freshmen that were sitting on the either on the boys basketball team or the football team that were looking up to Lance and saying, wow, man, look, Lance did it. So I can do this too. You know, in some way, shape, or form, this opportunity can be here for me. So he is literally he can literally change and be that pioneer of these next few years of these kids that say, if Lance did it, I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
and that is true. And Lance is just a model kid. You know what I mean? Same thing. Not he went to a private school. You know what I mean? It's a small school, and basketball out here on the reservation is huge. You know, it's a huge deal. You know what I mean? And it's unfortunate because you see a lot of these kids that were high school all-stars, and where did they go? You know, are they given a chance? Are they given an opportunity? And Lance really is really taking advantage of an opportunity, and he's just grateful to continue to go to college. You know what I mean? And he really changed his mindset of going D1 to just being grateful. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
that was some maturity by Lance. And I think one thing I like kids to know is when you're getting recruited or when people are looking at you, they see a 18, 19-year-old kid. But as far as for college coaches, they're looking at what are you going to be when your body grows, when you're 21, 22, 23 years old, when you're a junior and senior, because they're making an investment for that. Not very often you'll get a true freshman that's just phenomenal. That's regular, you know what I mean? But the colleges are looking at what are you going to be when you're a junior and senior, and a lot of our youth don't see that far as of I want instant gratification. I want it now. I want this success now, but they don't understand in between their freshman or their redshirt freshman year and their junior and senior, they fail to see in between there how much growth do I have to have, because it's not fair when you're 18 years old and you're playing against whatever NIA Division II, Division III athlete that's 23 years old, and he's just bigger, faster, and stronger than you, and you're comparing yourself to that, opposed to, okay, I'm going to work hard, get better every day at practice, I'm going to hit the weight room, I'm going to do this, and by the time my senior year comes when I'm your age, am I going to be better than you at then?
Yep.
So that's just, I think kids fail to look at that time span of growth because this generation is so instant now instant success instead of the future reflection thinking. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
It does. And, listen, look at, and I don't know how you feel about this, Coach, but, you look at Tom Brady. Tom Brady is going to go down as as probably the greatest quarterback that the NFL has ever had, just based off the championships he's done and all those things. But, I mean, look again, I've mentioned this before in a previous video, but look at his career. I mean, he was in the sixth round. What was it, 199th pick in the NFL draft, and then he came in and sat behind Drew Bledsoe, and Drew Bledsoe was injured in that 2001 season, I think it was, and then the rest was history. But Tom Brady knew going in, he was very headstrong, but he was patient, and he said, my time is going to come, and he got his time, and then he ran with it. So. But again, you can't tell me that you're better than the greatest quarterback in the NFL history, and he sat behind another player, won one Super Bowl, right? So you can't come out there. You've got to be very humble. Again, I got to come back to Lance, because Lance had he could have gone either way. He could have gone football or basketball, and Lance never once talked to me about football. It was just basketball. He picked the one that he knew he was going to have his best opportunity with, and he ran with it. And that is okay because it gave him a lot of money in order for him to go to college and get that education. Right, Coach?
Yeah, and I think with Lance, he really he enjoyed football too, but he went with his passion where he would be more successful at, because there's tons of football players, but the picking for basketball players is slim too. And he made that decision, and he was fighting. He fought with it. I said, hey man, just make a decision and stick with it and don't look back. You know what I mean? I mean, you're not going to upset me because you're not playing football. This is going to be your decision at the end, not your parents, not you. Do what's going to make you happy. And I said, you know what, when you get to college, I said, basketball, football, all these sports are year round, because right now we get a lot of students. All right, football season's over in October, and I'm going to chill and rest until August from football season. And that's not how it works. I think a lot of the time, a lot of students get caught up with that. Oh, my season's over now, I'm going to chill. But now is the kind of athletes that are out there and the way programs are, if you're whatever sport you're in, basketball, soccer, it's year round now. There's no time off. There's hardly any off season. And while people are sleeping, while you're sleeping, people are honestly getting better. You know what I mean? It's just the way that sports has gone, you know. And I mentioned it before, when I was in Oklahoma, I did well. I did good there. And by my sophomore year, I said, you know what? I kind of felt fulfilled that I compete at this level. And I called up to Arizona State, and they said, well, we remember you from high school. We would love to have you. And I tried, and I thought I was working hard at Northwestern Oklahoma State. I thought I've seen some talent. I thought I've seen it all just playing other school. And when I got to Arizona State, it was a totally different. There's 150 guys out there. There's 15 of us. There's probably 20 receivers for 1 or 4 positions. You know what I mean? And that was a huge reality. Like, I went from high school from catching 149 footballs. Then I get to Oklahoma and I catch 2 seasons. I catch 50 football. Then I get to Arizona State and I end up catching 12 footballs I was there for 3 years. And I was like, God, and I had to ask myself, but I became a good blocker. I did all the special teams, and I had to do some self-reflection. I was like, I'm not as good as that guy. I'm not as fast as that guy, but I didn't mind blocking, and I got on the field because I became a good blocker. And I sat back and said, this is what I'm going to bring to my team. Yep. And I had to go out there, and I caught 12 balls. I was at Arizona State for 3 years, but I became a hell of a blocker, and I wasn't scared to hit, and I was scared to get on special teams, and that was how I contribute to the team. But not everybody can accept that role and be like, you know what? They can't say, I'm better than Todd Heap. That's impossible. They can't say, I'm better than Terrell Suggs. That's impossible. I'm better than J.R. Redmond. That's impossible. When you actually see these people in live form, you really get that reality of, you're not very special. Does that make but that was my impression. Like, I'm not a very good football player when I see these people on the field. I mean, I got to see Chad Johnson play. I got to see Troy Polamalu play. I got to see Carson Palmer. I got to see Lance Briggs and some of these NFL players that play in the NFL. And when you see them in person, it is mind-blowing of what something so big and something so fast and so strong that could move like that. And you're like, yeah, you can say you belong in the NFL. You know what I mean? Yeah. And you get kids from Farmington that says, oh, coach, I got this bench press and I run a 4.25 or run a 4.4. I'm like, I've seen a 4.4 and a 4.3. You know what I mean? Yeah. I've seen it, you know what I mean? And it's totally different. I think we just got to be realistic with the kids. But going to ASU, it was live, breathe football. If I missed practice, the guy behind me was just as good, and you lose your position. Yep. Got in trouble, you lose your position. You're all the way back down to the scout team. And I played scout team for 1 year, and I could take scout team as 2 ways. I can get myself better and go against all these all Pac-12 players and hone my skills for the next 2 years, or am I going to sit back and tout and quit and say I'm not getting a fair chance, or am I going to use this opportunity to get better? And I took the road of I'm going to get better so I can have a chance to get onto the field for the next 2 years. Just a chance to get onto the field. Mine was just a chance to make the travel squad.
Yeah.
It's not guaranteed when you get to college. You know what I mean? There's 53 guys that get to travel. I want to be one of those 53 guys. You know what I mean? So there's little steps that you got to be realistic for. You know what I mean? And I know I'm not going to be the go-to receiver, but I know that when a block needs to get made, I'm going to go in and do it. Because if nobody else, if I'm not going to do it, the next person behind you is going to do it. And that's just reality. You know what I mean? That's something that I think we have a lot of our youth that can't accept, that there is somebody better than you. You know what I mean? And it's hard.
It is. Coach, I'll never forget, I was in high school. I graduated high school in 1989. And I went to John L. Leonard High School in Florida, in West Palm Beach. And I remember one summer, I think I was in ninth grade, and I was in the weight room during the summer, and everyone was, the older guys on the team were in there working out, and they were all excited. They were talking about this guy that was about to come. He used to play for our school, a few years before me, and then he played at the University of Miami. And then he played for the San Francisco 49ers, and it was really cool. He wow, he went to my high school, and his name was Kevin Fagan, and he was I
think I remember, a lineman?
Yeah, defensive lineman. He played for the 49ers.
Yep.
And listen, that guy walked into our weight room, and it was like this building walked into the building. He was so big. And, at that point, I was like, there is no way on God's green earth that I'm going to play a professional football against that guy, And I remember his warm up was like 4 plates on each side of the bench, and the bar bent around his chest because he was so big. And I'm like, my goodness, how in the world are you going to get hit by that guy? Maybe 6'5", 6'6", well over 300 pounds maybe. And man, he was huge. And then I remember my godson won this thing when they lived in Cincinnati, Ohio, where he was allowed to get on the field during a game. It was against the Bengals versus the Baltimore Ravens. And I got to go on the field with him and behind the Bengals. And Carson Palmer was standing in front of us. And I could not believe how big not just him, but how big they were.
Yeah.
And I'm here, I'm a grown man, and these guys are like 3 times my size, and I remember Ray Lewis came out, and he was just huge. And so, again, you're right. It's almost like that. Listen, you might have to take a trip over to your local college that has football and see the size of these guys and understand, maybe this might not be my level.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe this one's not my level, but you can play maybe D3. Maybe you could do NAIA. Coach did it.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely. No. We have a college here, Fort Lewis College, and their football program is getting better, but some of the kids that they have, they're legit. They're good. But when they play against other schools in the Montana State and all these other schools, we're not very good. It's the competition level that you're going to be going against. Not everyone wants to go to Durango, but a lot of our kids like, oh, that's local. That's a local school that's here. But they fail to realize the competition that they're going to be playing against. Fort Lewis has a really good football program too. I know a couple guys that went there, and I think it's just more of the bigger picture. Yeah, I may not play, but I'm getting opportunity, and I'm going to walk away with a degree. I just can't. When I was up in Europe playing football up there, I just running down practice, catching a ball, and boom, I blow everything out of my knee. And right now, football was all that I saw when I was up there. And then now that I'm done, I'm like, man, I'm so grateful that I got my degree. I can stay home and work. I'm mobile. I'm not stuck here. If I wanted to move to Florida, I could do it just because of that piece of paper. It gives me an opportunity to make all those moves. So I just really stress to our youth how important that college degree is. It's not That's not the NFL running out of Michigan Stadium, Notre Dame. That's just a microcosm of the big picture of what success is. I think a lot of our youth get caught. Me running for Nike, me going to the NFL, that's success, you know what I mean? But success is how productive you are, and how, if you got, when you get your degree, or, you know what I mean? Just a model citizen is what we stress to our kids. Hey, you know what? I didn't go to college for football, but I'm pretty sure in our program that I'm going to go to college and be successful. Hopefully some of these things that we do in our football program, they take that with them to college. Hey, I'm disciplined enough to go to class because I went to practice every day. I'm disciplined to keep my grades up because I did it when I was at Navajo Prep. You know what I mean? I did all these little tangible things that's going to make me successful to finish school. I think that's the big picture of, hey, you need to finish school. And I tell my kids, if you want to move back to the res, get a job of what's here. If you want to get a job at the hospital, if you want to get a job at one of the schools, oil field, you can return and get some of those jobs there. You know, and that's just, I think sometimes as coaches, we fail to build those connections with those kids instead of looking beyond the X's and the O's and looking at these kids. How am I going to win with you? My approach is more is how 10, 20 years from now, what are you going to be doing that's going to make this a successful program?
Sure.
You know what I mean? Great when you get letters back from kids and saying, hey, you know, kids call you on Father's Day. You know what, Coach, you were pretty hard on me, but I have a family now. I'm really grateful that we came through your coaches and we came through your program, and I went to Navajo Prep. I understand the value of education now that I'm older. When I was young, I saw this much. Now that I'm older, I understand what you were trying to teach us. You know what I mean? That's just kind of what I believe in. I may be different than other coaches.
No, you're right. I still remember having conversations this is about a couple of years ago. And I keep in touch with them every now and then. I had two of my favorite coaches from my time in playing, you know, baseball and football. And one of my coaches, Coach Evans, he was my baseball and football coach in junior high school. And then he was my football coach all through high school. And man, he was tough, you know, but he was still that father kind of figure. And, you know, outside of the football, you know, square or rectangle, I guess you would say, he was that other guy, you know. It's just like he was nurturing and he cared about you and those things like that. Yeah. But man, when we got to practice, he was a whole different animal, and he expected nothing but the best from you. And I talked to him a couple of years ago, and you know, he's retired now, and you know, he's living the life now. And I told him, I'm like, man, I remember how hard you were during baseball my 8th grade year. And I said, but you were so hard on us, but we went undefeated. We won every single game. And it just seemed like you would think it would have gotten a little easier. And it just kept getting harder and harder and harder at the end, where you're just kind of like, man, I really don't like this guy, you know? And he was also my football coach. And it was, I love that about him. And then I had Coach Barr, that he was this little guy, man. Coach Barr was he was smaller than me in high school, you know, and I was 5'8". I think Coach Barr was like maybe 5'6", 5'7". The guy played college baseball. He won a national championship in college, and he came in with this fire. And I'll never forget, we had this practice. He was our defensive backs coach. And he was just, I don't know if he was just having a bad day or what was going on with him. And we just couldn't do anything right. Just could not do anything right. And he went to a kid that was about his size, right? Walks up to me, goes, "Give me your helmet." And the kid was like, "What?" And he goes, "Give me your helmet." And the kid takes his helmet off and he puts it on. Coach Barr puts it on and he goes, "I want each and every one of you to come at me right now." And we're like looking around going, is this guy for real? You know, and he remembers it. I asked him if he remembered. He goes, "Yeah, I remember that day." He goes, "I had a headache afterwards." He goes, "But I would have never let you guys know that." And man, we started coming at him full tilt, and he was taking us on. He had no pads, and he only had his helmet on. And man, this guy was tough. But man, what he brought out of us after that was, I mean, we were hungry, you know, like, man, here's our coach. He's really riling us up. We're doing something wrong. We're going to turn it around and we're going to have a great game. And we did,
Yeah.
you know, and that's the coaches, man, that I really, you know, that I admire. And that they remember me. So listen, that was not, I graduated high school in 1989, you know, and I just talked to them a couple years ago and they remember me, you know, not only that, it's how many kids have they coached since that time. And they still remember back that time frame and how much fun they had while they were coaching us.
Yeah, and I think that's just huge to coaches that really care about their kids. You know what I mean? And it's just and sometimes now just the different generations now, you go to kids and like say, hey bud, how come you're not playing football? What's going on? I don't like the coach. I know back when I played, I make it sound so long. It wasn't about me playing a sport because I like the coach. Nowadays it seems like I like this coach, so I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
Because I don't like this coach because he gets on me, he makes me accountable, he makes me commit. You know, it seems like for me as a coach, when you start using commitment, dedication, making sacrifices, and these words, it's kind of like that's a bad word. That's a bad word. You know what I mean? But when now you have to be careful how you, because they know it takes away from what they want to do. You know what I mean? And I think just thinking about it, when I played, I loved the sport. I just loved it. And please don't tell me that I'm going to get a scholarship for doing something that I like to do. And I get to leave my 2-bedroom house with 6 brothers. My parents don't work, don't know what I'm going to eat. And this is going to give me an opportunity to get out of that. You know what I mean? And I just couldn't put together. And I love playing for my community. There's nothing more happy than I was way happy wearing a Ganado that said Ganado on my jersey. Go to Oklahoma, it says North Rangers. You know what I mean? You go to ASU and it says Arizona State. That meant something. You know what I mean? It was a lot of pride because conditioning in 110 degrees heat in the summertime in Tempe, Arizona is not fun. Out of 100,000 people and you're traveling to Notre Dame, you're going to USC, you're playing up in Oregon, and you have that uniform, that's when it's like, man, this is so worth it. How many people from the reservation or how many people you run into can say they've had that experience, you know, from a small little community? It's just a little bit of hard work and just taking advantage of an opportunity and just being grateful, you know what I mean? So this is, it's a lot different, but we adjust with the generations, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Now, Coach, you and I are working together on your future of some of your kids, and 2 of them, which is they're going to be 2021 kids, is Travian Denetso, which is your son. He's playing football in a school in Arizona, and then we have Brandy Ray, which Brandy is your daughter that's looking to be a cross country or track and field in college as well. She's a go-getter. Let me tell you, she contacted me like right away. Hey, Coach, I want to look at Air Force. Hey, let's do it, man. What's the worst they're going to be able to tell us is no, right? So, looking at them, I mean, Trey already is getting, again, guys, he still has 1 more year of high school football, and he still has to graduate high school, and he's going to do fine. I'm not worried about any of that. But he still has 1 more year and is already receiving offer after offer after offer of opportunity, and so why? And I'm going to explain to you why. 1, he's got great game film. I mean, it's fantastic game film, and he's not the biggest kid. He doesn't have all of that, but he's got great game film. Secondly, he's got the grades. He's already got the grades that he needs. He's already started the process. He already has his NCAA eligibility number. He is well advanced of probably 70 to 80% of high school football players that are out there in the country. This is why he's getting looks. Okay? This is the reason why he's getting looks. This is the reason why that Brandy, with cross country or track and field, whichever she decides to do, is also going to be getting those things as well. Because why? She's starting early in the process. Yeah. And so that way, my goal would be almost the same that I did for my daughter. I don't want her to be sitting there stressed out and worried during her senior year. about where she's going to go. She figured it out pretty quickly, you know, and then she was able to enjoy her senior year. I want the same thing for your kids and any other kids that are out there. Listen, start early, start the process early. And then by the time, look, Trey probably midway through his senior year can make his choice. He can make his choice while he's playing football at his high school, and while he's playing, he can commit if he wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
And then he can have a wonderful season after that. He's not stressed out anymore about where he's going. He's going here, great, done, commit. He does signing day in February. I think it's still February. And done. He's ready to rock and roll. Same thing with Brandy. So, Coach, tell me about that, man. I was there. I've seen it from a parent standpoint. Now, these are going to be your first ones that are going to be heading to college. What's going through your head going with that?
And I think one thing that we did with our kids was we let them initiate it. We asked them, do you want to go to college on an athletics? Do you want to continue playing college, or are you done at high school? We like them to make those choices, because I don't want for them to get to college and be like, well, I don't want to do this. You told me to do it. Because we can always go back and say, you know what, you made this decision. You know what I mean? And I think for us with our kids, we kind of let them work for it. You kind of you earn that. You know what I mean? And we were like their junior year came up. I was like, man, we haven't gotten no offers or any colleges looking at. We were those parents that were like, okay, let's just kind of step back. What are we doing? You know what I mean? So we kind of brought everything back here, and I was like, okay, we gotta make that initiative. We gotta sit back and say, how are we gonna get our kids exposure? And you were one of the people that we contacted. I was just looking through my phone. I was like, oh my God, I have a resource right here. And that was one of the best things that we ever did, was reaching out to you. And I think it was just that it was just that rapport that we had. Jen, we had a couple other people that wanted to recruit our kids for services and this and that. But you took the time, right? When I text you, you call me and say, hey, Rod, what's going on? I told you about my situation and my kids. And you honestly cared empathy for our kids. You know what I mean? And I think that's just not with our kids. I'm called you about Lance and a couple other kids that you got out there, and you call them. And I think just that genuine feeling of, all right, this is the right person to go with. And we started early. And I really like the fact that our kids are working for that. I think nowadays, sometimes as parents, we do too much for our kids that kind of sets them up for failure. But I love my kids. I love them, but sometimes they have to do things on their own and earn. And I feel for me, this is personal. If kids work for something themselves, they appreciate it more. You know what I mean? And I think for me, out here in the Four Corners, some of the school listing that you gave me, I have never even heard of, and I'm in the education field. And it was so amazing to see these little kids, these schools that I can see, wow, my kids can compete at this level and play and get. For me, I'm looking at what degrees they have to offer. I'm like, man, you could really get a good degree. This is getting higher marks in this degree. And there's a school in Minnesota that I fell in love with. I was like, man, I wish I knew about this school, and I would love to go here. You know what I mean? Just because of what they had to offer educational wise. And the football team is very competitive. You know what I mean? And it was like, man, these guys they got Under Armour, they got turf, they got nice locker rooms, they got facilities. I'm like, this is not a Division I school. This is a Division III school, and they give you a quality education, and they have top-notch facilities. I was sold, but I don't know what my son's gonna do.
Were you ready to gear up, Coach? You were like, I'm packing my bag, I'm out of here.
And I was like, man, we need to look at these plane tickets up to Minnesota, because I really like this school, what they have to offer for my son. You know what I mean? And I'm just grateful, because my son now is like, I don't know who to choose. I'm like, well, you and my daughter, I'm like, you have a great opportunity that you have a selection. Not a lot of kids get that. You know what I mean? So just do your research and be grateful. And I think parents do need to get involved, you know what I mean? And if they're going to choose recruiters, I think they really need to do their homework, and some of the people they trust. And some are just I'm not talking bad, they're just money makers. They don't care about your kids. They don't take the time to get to know your kids. And I think for me, I'm biased because I know you, but this is the first time we really done some work together. I'm a satisfied parent because you care about my kids, you care about, they're not 1,000 other kids. You call me once a week. Hey, how's it going? How's the recruiting process going? This coach contacted, and you're out there putting in work in the background, and giving my kids an opportunity. And we're very grateful as parents.
Well, and I'm grateful that you gave me that opportunity to be able to help your kids, and it's brought out a couple of other kids as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Jamal Yamutewa, and then DeAndre Sanchez at another high school in New Mexico. And, they're going to be getting some looks here really soon, and I'm really excited about that. Plus, made another friend with Coach Clonch. And so, again, it's about those connections. And to me, I look at it as a father first. I don't look at it as a coach. I look at it as a dad, and that's how I want to be able to give back and be able to help those kids and have someone trustworthy. And to me, Coach, when I look at this process for them, especially with Trey right now, Trey's got quite a few things that he can really narrow down. And really, to me, it's pretty simple. You got to look at the pros and cons of each and every single school. And at the end of it, whoever has the most pros, that's your choice, right? Does it have the education that I want? Does it have this? Does it have that? Am I going to have opportunity to play? How far is it from home? What are the financial aspects of it?
Yeah.
You put all those different things together. You put the pros and cons, and then whoever's left at the end of it, that's the school that you choose. And I think that's what you guys are going to have to do with him, and very soon with Brandy as well.
Yeah, and I think if you have time, the resources, visit the school. I think one thing that's different than we did was we went on Google, and I think I encourage for other people to do this to get recruited. I Googled questions to ask coaches when being recruited, and I'll send that to you. And it was totally different questions than I would have thought as a parent coming from a player. Well, it was, and I'll send you that, and maybe something you can build into your, and it was totally, and I said, how did that go? He goes, yeah, the coach was okay. Then when he asked me, do you have any questions for us? He went down that list, and he said that he said he sold the coach on the questions that he had to ask him because there were different questions than what they were being asked. So he did his homework and asked them. It was way different questions that to ask colleges, and I think that was something different that we did, and that kept the coaches from, man, this kid asked me questions that I've never been asked before as a coach. I thought that was very, very interesting, and it was nice, and the coach remembers him, and now they're contacting him because of those questions that he asked. So he looked good on film, paper, his biography, but when they spoke to him on purpose, he was more prepared and asked them very critical question as a player. You know what I mean? What's your graduation rate? Where do you picture me? Where do you picture me playing? What's your philosophy as a coach? These were some questions that I didn't think of as a player.
And Coach, what does that do? The one thing that I always say to these kids is you need to differentiate yourself from the other hundreds of thousands of kids that are trying to do the same exact thing that you're doing, right? Is to get that spot on that team. Trey and your kids are doing that. They're differentiating themselves. They put something into that coach's mind of saying, wow, this kid didn't ask me the standard questions of what division are you?
Yeah.
Am I going to play my first year?
Yeah.
What am I going
to the NFL?
Yeah.
How many guys you sent to the NFL?
How many guys have you sent to the NFL? From the cross country, or track. Well, how many kids have gone to the U.S. Olympics? Yeah. They started asking these questions, and the coach is like, well, I can listen, that's not what I'm about. And then all of a sudden the coach starts losing interest because he's saying, or she's saying, that they're not really focused on what they really need to be focused on here. But now you have your kids are going in there and differentiating themselves. You've got to be different than everybody else, in order to be able to get what you want.
And I told one thing that I did with my son was I said, well, in your film, I said, a coach may ask you, send me some film of your not so good plays. And he had a hard time with I never thought about having a film with my bad plays. You know what I mean? And be prepared for that. Hey, see all your good plays. Can you send us some of your bad plays? And that's why I tell them, don't loaf on the field. You know what I mean? Because they may ask your coach what send us some film that's not very good of you. And you always got to be hustling and always be prepared. You know what I mean? So that was different for him, but that's just part of that going to the next level of, hey, let's see some of your bad plays. They want to see your weakness. Does that make sense, Andy? And
that makes tons of sense. The coach wants to see. I've telling kids now, hey, listen, it's if I was a basketball player and I'm going to go by the standards of what a normal highlight film is supposed to look like. And if I was a basketball player and I shot 100 free throws and I only made 2, which ones are going to go on my highlight film? The 2 that I made. So now I'm 100% free throw shooter when really I'm only like 2%. So you gotta really think about what you're doing here. So show yourself, put your best plays, of course, at first, but also show what are you doing away from the ball. Are you blocking? Are you hustling to make a play? What are you doing? And that's okay to show the coach. Hey, look, man, I was standing next to Rod, and as a wide receiver, and the quarterback threw it to Rod. And so I went and I cut across and I blocked the corner for making the tackle, and Rod ran an 80-yard touchdown pass, right?
And there's nothing wrong with showing blocking highlights. You know what I mean?
No.
Love that. There's nothing wrong. The one thing we did with our coaches' film was we showed them some film on offense. We showed them some defensive film, and we showed some special teams to show that, hey, you're getting a versatile kid. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Some kids, I think, have a hard time. I only play wide receiver. That's not what coaches want. When a coach takes a travel team, they want, hey, can this guy play special teams? Can this guy play DB? Can this guy play receiver? Can you know what I mean? They want versatile kids, and you know what I mean? So it's not good to just label on your film play, I am only a DB. You did a great job with that. I'm a DB, I'm an athlete, and I play wide receiver. You know what I mean? And I think it's the coach's job to put you where they think you'll be successful when you get to college. You know what I mean? Hey, this is who I am, or can I help the team?
Yeah. I don't know if you remember this guy, Coach. He played at Penn State years ago. His name was Tony Robinson, I think his name was.
Yeah, I think a quarterback.
Yeah, he was a quarterback.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, great college quarterback. He really was, did very well at Penn State. But what did he do in NFL?
I think he was a DB.
He was a D. I think he actually was a running back as well at some point. Mm-hmm. But you know what? He had like a 12-year career in the NFL and never went and never was a quarterback. Why?
Yeah,
because he was humble and said, I want that shot to play in the NFL. What's it going to take for me to be there? And he did it.
And I think they did that this year with the quarterback from Navy. He signed as a athlete, wide receiver, DB kind of guy, just because he was athletic. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then look at the guy that the Raiders selected. Yes, I'm a big Raiders fan. I got my Raiders jersey sitting right back here, guys. And, the Raiders selected that kid that can do anything. He can catch, he can run, he can throw, and he's going to be a monster for them here in the years to come. So, again, guys, don't set yourself up for just that one position. Open yourself up and do those things. But, Coach, I got to start wrapping things up here.
Yeah, yep.
Any final words on your end?
I think just some encouragement, motivation, whatever you'll call it. Just really want kids to be grateful that they're getting an opportunity to play at the next level. You know what I mean? I encourage kids to keep your grades up. I mean, it's easy. You hear it all the time. The discipline, it's keep your nose. I don't know if it's an old word. Keep your nose clean. You know what I mean? Sometimes, and always continue to work hard. That's one of our foundations that we work hard in the classroom, on the field. You commit yourself. You commit yourself in the classroom and on the field. You hold yourself accountable for your workouts. You know what I mean? In the classroom and on the field, and you're gonna make some sacrifices. Be ready to make some sacrifices if you play at the next level. You're gonna sacrifice your summertime. You're gonna sacrifice family dinners. And I just really choose your friends wisely. And no matter if you're from a big town, small town, I think if you do those 4 or 5 things, they'll find you. If you're good enough and you're humble and you work hard, you know what I mean? They're going to find you, so don't get discouraged. And I think really your film, take your SAT. We're finding that out. Take your SAT, ACT early start the recruiting process, beginning of your junior year. Take care of all that stuff, and don't wait till the last minute. It's hard, and not everyone is a Division I player. You know what I mean? Not everyone is a Division II player, Division III player, NAIA player, JUCO player, whatever you fall in. I think the big picture is, where are you going to be most successful from? Where are you going to get your degree from to give back to your community, to be successful in life? And I think for me, my big thing I want kids no matter what division you go through, competition is there, from JUCO, NAIA, Division I, Division II, and it's the only reason why it's called Division I is because they have a lot of people that go to that school. And that's the only reason why, they have that class, because they have so many kids going to that school. That's the only reason. And the same athletes that are in JUCO, that are in NAIA, could also compete at the Division I level. You know what I mean? It's just really encouraging. Just enjoy the process. It's a great experience to get recruited. And I think I really want to stress to you, just be grateful that someone is making an investment in you and giving you an opportunity to continue your college career. And I really want to give it good luck to all those kids that are going through that process. And it's a very great process.
That's awesome, Coach. Guys, again, do me a favor, like this video. Please also subscribe to my channel if you have not done so already. And then please share this video, because if you know of a young man that's looking to play, college football, here's a high school coach that's giving you great insight and great information on what it's going to take for you. And he also played in college. Keep that in mind, that he's giving you the information and the insight that you need to become that college student athlete. Okay. And he brought up a lot of great points, education, being a good team player, and then a lot of hard work, outside of the field. You got to get in the weight room and all those things. So again, just please do me a favor, like, subscribe, please share this video. Also hit that notification bell so you can get notified of any upcoming videos that I'll be doing here really soon in the future. Coach, again, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I can't wait to see everything that we're going to be doing for Navajo Prep. And I hope you guys can get your season off to a good start and this COVID-19 situation gets out of the way.
Yeah. And Andy, I just wanted to say thank you very much for what you're doing for our community here at the Four Corners, all the way from Florida. And it's hard to find. You're reaching out to our non-native and our Native American youth here and giving them an opportunity for exposure. So we want to say thank you as a family. And I know there's other families out there in the community. And I really encourage people up there out here, if they hear this, give you a call, give Coach Andy a call. He a legit person, cares about their kids, and make sure he'll try his best to get them an opportunity to play college football. And I don't vouch for very many people, just my experience, just not because I know you, just the experience that you gave me and my family these past 2 months, and other people that we know, just the opportunity that you run a legitimate program in a business. And I really encourage others out there that hear this. If you're having a hard time, give Coach Andy a call, and he'll give your kid a fair opportunity to be successful. So
Coach,
from the Four Corners, Andy, we appreciate all that you're doing for us, even though we just meant thank you so much for what you have done for our community.
Man, that means the world to me. Yep. And like I said, guys, if there's something that I can do out that way to help the community of the Navajo Nation or any of the other nations that are there, I know Jamal and DeAndre, I think we're with the Zuni Nation, and I'm all about it, man. Anything that I can do to help anybody out that way, please message me. This is what I love to do, and I love to help get your kids up to that next level and get that education and plus get to play. So again, yes, everybody, thanks. Please, all my contact information is going to be underneath the video. I will also going to put Coach's contact information from Instagram. If you want to ask Coach a question about high school and things like that, I'm looking forward to the future of maybe someday Navajo Prep might be able to bring in international students.
Yeah, we're working toward that. It's going to happen.
That we're looking to do that, guys. So that's going to be a great opportunity. So please stay tuned, okay? Coach, again, thanks so much. I really appreciate your time, and I'll talk to you real soon, man. All the best to you.
All right. Thank you, Coach. We'll see you.
We'll see you.